I don't know, Scott. I mean, Tiger Woods back in TGL tonight. What the
Yeah,
hell?
you know what? I saw it all over Twitter, and I was like, I got to check it out. So when we put our son down for bed, I turned it on, and the first thing that I saw was Tiger missing like a 3 or 4 foot putt, and I was just like, oh no.
I'm I'm not surprised. I'm not going to lie because, you turn on TV or anything golf related or Twitter and people are, it's that time of the year. We're almost to the Masters, so people are all wondering, is he going to play? He's dropping this and
hmm
that, but I did not expect him to play. I'm not going to lie. It was very unexpected because I did watch it last night. I didn't catch it tonight. So I don't know if you saw what happened, but I think LA ended up winning.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I turned it on. Like I said, midway through, they were tied 2-2 when I turned it on like hole 7 or something. And yeah, no, it was really cool. Like I said, the first person I saw hitting a golf ball was Tiger Woods, and I was like, oh shit, here we go, he's back. But yeah, and they were talking about some highlights, some big plays he had made earlier in the game, but he missed a big one when I turned it on. And then the other team scored a point 2 holes in a row, and then Jupiter did the hammer throw on the next hole, and then they lost that hole too. So it was like a 4 point swing in
Mm.
like 3 holes, and all of a sudden it was 6-2. And I think it ended up it being 9-2 that Jupiter ended up losing. And I think TGL is like a 3 game series for the championship, and Jupiter lost what last night and tonight, so it's over now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised that they even made it, to be honest, based on the makeup of their team. But what I'm not surprised about is that, the person out there right now is watching in to welcome to the Single Barrel Sports podcast. So my name is Deeb and my co-host.
Yeah, Scott here, and just happy to have you with us tonight or this morning or whatever time you're listening to us tonight. And we got a lot to dive into tonight. We're in the middle of March Madness. There's some big golf things that are coming up really soon here. And otherwise, we're kind of hitting that final stretch for some of our other primary sports like NBA and NHL. So, Dee, where do we go from here?
Well, I want to just talk one more thing about TGL because I know
Yeah.
that we were kind of talking about what had happened, and I want to get your take on this. I'm curious. Do you think it was selfish of Tiger to step in the
Ooh.
middle of the finals?
I was wondering the same damn thing. I think that it's my question to myself tonight was, is this to build hype for the Masters coming up for the PGA? Is this to boost ratings for the TGL because they're coming to a close for their second season? Is this an ego thing where Tiger wants to step in and be the hero for his team? I don't know necessarily if it's that last one, but it does feel weird to like make your first appearance in over a year in the final game of the season. Like this team has been doing well enough to make it to the championship without you, and now you're inserting yourself in the final moment. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who makes those decisions, Deeb. I know Tiger's like an owner of the entire organization, if I recall, right? Like he's pretty highly involved with the TGL like administration.
Well, for sure.
So maybe this was a ratings thing. Maybe this was him saying, this is my show and I'm going to play in it. And let's see what the PR buzz is after tonight. I don't know. It was damn cool to see him golfing again, though, even in an indoor arena like that.
Hey, I will say this though. I think that it was an opportunity to capitalize on all eyes on TGL tonight because if you really think about it, I mean, there's no March Madness games from my understanding for men tonight. There's really not a lot going on in terms of big sports other than maybe like NBA games or, and maybe NHL games as well. But in terms of like where the eyeballs are right now,
hmm
tonight the TGL did have the eyeballs if I had to guess from some people. And if they hear that Tiger Woods is playing, I would have to guess that that's going to be a swing in terms of like eyeballs going to something. So I don't know. It's like was it clever? Was it that planned out to where they were like, "Hey, let's get Tiger out there if he can play if he wants to play." But part of me
hmm
thinks it's a little weird, I'm just like, why'd you play the second game and not the first?
I have a couple of follow up questions. The first one, and I'm going to ask them both, so you don't have to answer the first one in order. But
Hmm.
the first one is, how much does winning the TGL championship actually matter to these golfers versus just like having fun? And then the second one is like, is there pressure for ratings to where there might not be a third season? Because if so, then you just nailed it. This is the chance to have all eyes on the sport. It's the last time that they're going to have it this season. You could call that low-hanging fruit, and TGL grabbed every damn apple off the apple tree tonight if that's the case.
Oh.
So I don't know what your thoughts are on those two concepts.
I think the players have fun with it, and it probably does have a little meaning to them. I mean, it's it's one of those things where it's new and there's not a bunch of people that are in the league. So at the end of the day, like, yeah, they're playing against good players, but it's a small number of other golfers competitively. But I will say, I don't know, because I'm not sure if they're struggling with the viewership and stuff, because they have all these plans to expand, and like, I think next year, I think Detroit's going to have a team, and the year after, like, Cleveland or someone was supposed to have a team. So I don't actually know. I'm not sure if the ratings are an actual issue or not, or this was more, like you said, just a grab.
Yeah, I'm just looking up some quick stats on Google here, so take all this with a grain of salt. But it sounds like
Gemini?
Not Gemini. You know what? Maybe it is Gemini. It's the AI overview.
There you go.
But yeah, so it does look like viewership is down a little bit from their inaugural season, but it does look like it's holding pretty steady. So I guess if the networks are happy with the current stating of their ratings, then they'll be fine. But I would have to imagine there were quite a bit more people watching tonight because there was talk all day long about Tiger Woods playing. So
yeah, well, I mean, I'll say this: if you're somebody out there right now that is watching this video, and you like sports, consider subscribing or following to the Single Barrel Sports Podcast, because we're trying to talk about stuff, Scott, that is interesting and is unique, that you're not going to really find, that the mainstream media may not be covering. We're the average guys.
yeah, and when you say the average guys, our whole premise here is to cover it in a way that normal dudes would just be chatting sports at a bar. So we're not going to be Dan Orlovsky and Pat McAfee screaming at each other on ESPN and cussing each other out today. Because
might.
Did you see Orlovsky said that Ty Simpson's a number one quarterback in this draft? And yeah, okay, well, permission to pivot?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so he came out and said that Ty Simpson's a number one QB in this draft, not Mendoza, and that he's talked to 12 GMs in the league and that 10 of them agree with him and only 2 disagree. And he went on to kind of like ruin his own argument by then saying, yeah, Ty Simpson has played in meaningful football games. Mendoza didn't play in meaningful football games. And Pat McAfee was like, well, how do you define meaningful? And he was like, well, like these big SEC teams, like they play a lot of other SEC teams. And Pat McAfee was like, how about the damn national championship? How about the college football playoffs? You think that's meaningful? Billions of dollars go into this every year. Like, he starts like going off on him.
Wow.
And it's just like, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, this guy, he won the Heisman, he won the Big Ten championship. They won the damn playoffs, they won the national championship. And you got some guy on ESPN saying that he didn't play any meaningful football games. So yeah, that might ruffle some feathers. And now you could argue, well, in like the first half of the Big Ten championship, he didn't have great stats, or in the national championship, he didn't have a great passing game. He didn't have a lot of passing touchdowns. You could argue some semantics like that, but to say that he didn't play meaningful football is one of the dumbest things I've heard. And you won't hear anything that stupid on this podcast.
Well, I don't know. I mean, last time Andrew pulled some receipts on us about the Patriots. So, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. Let me ask you this,
scoreboard
though.
after the Super Bowl, though. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair. Let me ask you this, though, because I think this does relate to that, but I'm interested in your take. And this is actually a question that I think I told you about a month ago, or maybe under a month ago. I had gone to the first high school coach football conference that I've ever attended.
Yeah.
So it was first time at that type of conference, and all the coaches got an Airbnb. So it was real fun. We got to get away and hang out, get to know each other a little more. And this question came up, and I'll tell you, Scott, this caused a lot of people to be, let's just call it, very passionate about the topic. Okay. So I'm curious what your take is. The conversation was basically this: who is actually the better college football conference? Is it the SEC or the Big Ten? And what is the rationale behind it? And there was a split, I will say. I think more people said Big Ten. Of course, you have, Michigan, MSU, et cetera, fans, Purdue. And then we had one singular individual who was very, very stuck on SEC for sure. And he was trying to kind of justify it.
I think the question is loaded. What is the better college football conference right now, the Big Ten or the SEC? And I guess my first question would be, do we mean right now, or do we mean in the last decade or all time. Because if we're being truthful with ourselves, the SEC was the one-headed monster that was carrying college football for decades, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, certainly there were other teams that would come through and win national championships occasionally, but the best football teams were coming out of the SEC on the regular for decades.
Mm-hmm.
But we have 3 national championship winners in a row that are from the Big Ten. The Big Ten has been kind of dominating college football, in my opinion, these last few years. And their conference is becoming more well-rounded to where they're having meaningful inter-conference games as well. It's not just Ohio State and Michigan anymore. You know, we've got teams like Oregon. We had Indiana stepping up this year. Occasionally, Penn State is okay, but obviously not this past year. You know, there's other teams that can step up in the conference to provide kind of like, it's not just the direct comparison. I think would be like if you look at like Michigan and Ohio State, then someone might compare that to like, well, Georgia and Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
But then other people might be like, oh, but then there's like Texas and Auburn and Florida, and there's all these other teams that are really good. LSU, Ole Miss, you know,
not Florida. Not Florida.
No,
no, Florida sucks.
Well, historically, though.
Yeah, okay. Tim Tebow. I'm saying right now, not Florida. You know, historically, yes.
Yeah. But then, like, you know, then there's the A&M. So I think maybe there's more top 25 teams in the SEC than in the Big Ten. But if you take the best 2 to 3 teams out of each conference each year in recent years, then I think the Big Ten might have the better of the top of the conference. But I think it's too early. Go ahead.
If you're going depth-wise, like if you were to have every SEC team play every Big Ten team, let's just say like you had a simulator or whatever to simulate every single matchup, who do you think wins?
Yeah, I mean, SEC wins more games than the Big Ten does. If it's just a straight-up heads-up, like you get 1 point for each win. Because even if, like, here's my argument here. Like, even if, let's say you've got, like, Georgia and Indiana playing against each other, and then you've got, like, I don't know, Ohio State and Alabama, and then Michigan plays Ole Miss. Oregon could play Texas or Texas A&M. But then there still are, like, who's left in the Big Ten after that? You know,
there's a drop-off. There is a drop-off at some point.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about, like, Michigan State or Washington or Rutgers or Northwestern. Illinois is probably the next one right now, currently.
Yeah.
But they would get smoked by half of the SEC teams, in my opinion.
But Washington did make the national championship a few years ago. So again, it's a timeline. Like, how long are we talking in terms of time?
Yeah. So, and then the other thing, I would have to pull statistics on this, but I'm quite certain that when it comes to players getting drafted to the NFL, that the SEC blows away every other conference when it comes to that. But and that would make sense, though, if as we're talking, there's more top 25 teams maybe in that conference than in other conferences. So of course there's going to be more players getting drafted. So
yeah,
I think there's a lot of loaded questions here. Like if we're only talking about which conference is going to win the national championship and defining the best as that, then I'll go Big Ten right now because they've done it 3 times in a row.
That's fair.
But if we want depth, then I think SEC still takes that cake.
Yeah, and I won't lie to you. A few years back, before the Big Ten expanded, I did not think the Big Ten was that great. I'm not going to lie. It was like Michigan, Ohio State, maybe one other team from
maybe
year
Penn
to year.
State. Yeah.
Maybe Penn State, maybe – I mean, I don't even want to say Iowa, but they're like consistently okay. You know what I mean? They're in the Big Ten championship, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, generally speaking, I mean, the Big Ten didn't really have a ton of depth at all. I mean, and it was so imbalanced because you had the way that they split the conference. It was whatever, the East and the West or whatever the hell the hell they split it.
Yep.
The one side that had Michigan, Ohio State, etc., was way more like loaded than the other. You know what I mean? The other one, it was like when it came to the Big Ten championship, it was like they're playing who? Like it's going to be a walk through game for whoever wins this side of the bracket, which is usually Michigan or Ohio State most years.
Yeah. And the other team that I slept on when I described this, but USC joining as a part of that expansion is another usually pretty decent team as well.
Yeah.
So I think that adds to the strength of the conference now versus before. But you're right. I mean, the Big Ten before that expansion wouldn't be able to compete at all as a conference against the SEC.
Yeah, if you put the lowest teams in the SEC versus the lowest teams in the Big Ten, that's where you see, I think, a large difference. Like the bad teams in the SEC are better than the bad teams in the Big Ten, generally speaking, from year to year.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think the thing that's kind of crazy is you think about like with the expansion, I feel like when I think about the SEC that it has like way more teams than the Big Ten, but it actually doesn't, which is kind of crazy. I think the Big Ten has like 18 teams now, and then the SEC I think has 16. So it actually has fewer teams.
Yeah, it's close.
They just don't have any shitty teams. Like who's the worst team in the SEC? this year? South Carolina, maybe?
Yeah.
Mississippi State, actually, probably.
I mean, South Carolina's
Oh, there's
close.
Kentucky. There's Kentucky and Auburn as well. Okay, yeah, there were some bad ones.
And Kentucky could turn it around. We'll see. I mean, they got Will Stein, former Oregon offensive coordinator, as their head coach. We'll see. I don't know. I'm just saying maybe, I'm not guaranteeing. But
I think the biggest question that I would love to hear from other people here is, which conference do you think is better for college football, or is better in college football, the Big Ten or the SEC? And what criteria do you use to define one as being better than the other? Because that can be rationalized in so many different ways that, I don't know how we answer the question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're listening to this, hey, take out your phone, your tablet, whatever. Don't be lazy. Type out your answer. Like I'm waiting for someone to explain to me their thoughts, because I want to know what other people's thoughts are on the topic, because I've heard a lot of iterations so far from different people, and I'm curious to hear more. So
I'm curious about this conference that kind of started this whole question here. What was the rationale? What was the justification of saying the Big Ten in that room? Was it just that they're homers, that they're all from Michigan, or
let's just say people had a little bit to drink and they were fired up. Let's leave it at that. There was a lot of fired up discussion about it.
We love a passionate sports debate with a little bit of liquid courage rocking.
It would have been a good one for the podcast. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I wish I had my camera. I mean, I had my phone, but I was like, I'm not going to just start recording people. That's awkward.
Yeah, you needed like a GoPro strapped to you for that one.
Yeah, which
is GoPro still like the brand for that, or am I dating myself?
It's still a thing, and I'll show you when we're in person together later this week, the one that I have that I think is a better brand, or that I like better.
Hell yeah. Well, hey, what a cool thing to promote right now. If you made it this far in the episode, Deeb and I are both packing up our bags and headed to Los Angeles this Thursday.
Yeah.
So once this episode drops, we will be in the air, and we're definitely going to be getting together. Well, we're rooming together while we're there. And so we'll absolutely be filming some content with some sports content. We'll probably go sip some bourbon somewhere and get a little bit behind the scenes and in-person footage for next week as well. And I'm really looking forward to catching up in person, because it's been a while, man, since the bourbon trail that we went on.
Yeah. And then I know we were in Nashville last year for the same work conference. So cool to be able to reconnect with some higher quality equipment. Let's say this year.
Hell yeah.
For some general recording and capturing some fun moments.
Yes, sir.
But, the one thing that I've been thinking about, and I found a very interesting question about March Madness, which I know, is obviously the big topic right now. We're kind of have this lull of games for the next round. But let me ask you this. If you could take the way that the March Madness bracket or the formula that they use is designed, if you could apply it to another sport, what sport do you think it would actually work in?
I think the reason that it works is because there's so many freaking teams, right? Like, you're slotting 64 teams into a tournament, and there are still hundreds of teams that don't make it. So it still feels meaningful to make it into the bracket. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that you could really do that outside of college sports. And that makes me think my immediate answer would be college football is kind of taking a similar format here. Yeah. They just haven't figured it out yet. They're sitting at this weird kind of 12-team structure with Power 4 conferences getting the bye weeks or whatever, or getting guaranteed spots. And I think this year it was just guaranteed spots, and it was the top 4 that got the bye weeks. But it feels like they're trending towards this, but they just haven't been able to figure out how to make it work. And I think the issue with that is fewer games, so the one loss matters a lot more in college football. And they're having a hard time with the selection committee selecting a playoff team makeup that makes everybody happy. There's controversy every year. There was controversy when it was just a national championship between 2 schools. There was controversy when it was a 4-team tournament. I think it was 8 teams after that, or did it go straight to 12? Either way, there's always been controversy with however many teams make this playoffs. So
yeah, 4 to 12, I think, was the change.
Okay. Yeah. I personally would be a huge advocate to shift it to 16. I think the further down you get, then the less controversial it gets, because if you're picking between multiple 3 and 4 loss teams, well, you should have won one more game, versus if you're picking between multiple 1 or 2 loss teams.
Yeah.
It's kind of shitty if people are like, oh, you should have just won more. It's like, dude, I lost 2 games and they were against top 5 schools, and now I don't make the playoffs. What are we talking about here?
Yeah. Like me in our dynasty league last year.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, that's my immediate thought. I feel like it would maybe be a lot of fun to have a bracket like this with like 16 teams for hockey and baseball and basketball as well. Let's just throw it all
Yeah.
in there.
Like NBA, you mean?
Sometimes, yeah, I mean, sometimes to me, it's a little draining to watch like 7 games in a series, like for, let's say, the MLB, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Cause like, cool, you hit that like walk-off home run, but it's game one. So like people are pumped, but they're not like losing their mind, losing their shit pumped up.
For sure.
But you hit that walk-off home run and it's only one game and then you advance, like people are going to go freaking crazy for that. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's tough because those sports have so many games too that it's kind of shitty. Like you play 161 games in a year and then you lose one playoff game and you're just out. So I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
But my mind says it would work best in a college format.
I like those. I mean, those are definitely interesting thoughts. I mean, yeah, college football, I don't think you could do 64 teams. Obviously, that'd be a ton of games. You'd have to cut like half the season for that to happen.
Yeah.
The one I was thinking of that maybe it wouldn't come to mind is actually golf. Can you imagine if they did like a 64-man tournament where like they would have to have some sort of a way to get into the tournament, but it's like your top 64, whatever, you name the number. I'm just giving you comparable. And then they did like matches. So like they would match like a Scheffler versus a 16, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they would have like 4 number 1 players that would be in each of the brackets. And those guys would play like match play, but you'd only play like a certain amount of holes. Like it's like you play 3 holes or 6 holes, or they'd have to make it like reasonable so that it can be played in a.
So it can move it along.
Yeah, but it almost, I mean, I know that they do that for the Ryder Cup to an extent, but can you imagine if they did that like large scale? I feel like that would be awesome to watch.
That would be kind of hype to have it just be an accelerated elimination style event where they would have to get creative with it though, because you couldn't have all of these people playing the same, let's say 3 holes, or it would take forever and guys that had been warm would be cold again and it would be this whole ordeal. Yeah. But it would be kind of interesting if you kind of like drew randomly and like, oh, okay, you two, this pairing is going to be on holes 1 through 3 and this pairing will be 4 through 6. And it doesn't really matter as long as you're on the same 3 holes as the person you're paired up against. So
sure.
That'd be kind of fire. I can't lie. That would be kind of cool just to have a totally different style for an event.
Yeah.
And it could be, it doesn't have to be even included in like the FedEx like playoffs or whatever. It could just be like a standalone event that could maybe even happen after the playoffs. Like if guys just wanted to go do this for fun, it's kind of like the Ryder Cup, like you said.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, for some reason, I like picture it and I'd be like, that'd be just so cool to watch the matchups and like everything's on the line and you get like the upsets where it's like, oh my God, like Scotty lost to like Tom Kim or something. And you're like, no way. Like what? Yeah. Like, how did that happen? So I don't know.
Some random dude just hits an eagle on one of the holes and you're like, oh shit, like he's going to win. Like, like.
Yeah, and you can't, the key to it, I think, would be don't make it too long. You know what I mean? You can't make it like they have to play 18 or something.
Right.
Make it like chunked so that there can be upsets that happen. Yep. And that would make it, I think, just so much more fun for the viewers.
Yeah, that would be kind of sick. You have my endorsement. Let's run with it.
Hell yeah. Well, maybe, the
SBS Classic. We're going to come at the PGA Tour with a business plan. And we're going to put this together. We'll promote how we can market it and which television networks will utilize. And yeah, we're onto something here.
If you guys agree, comment at PGA Tour in the comments.
There we go.
So there was another, going back to the actual March Madness, the basketball version of it. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. If you had the choice to be on a team or like, maybe a coach a team, whatever, do you think you'd rather be a 1 seed or a 16 seed? If you had to pick, those are the only 2 options that you're given.
Yeah. I think both of these come with their own pros and cons. I am a person where I tend to actually kind of prefer to have the pressure on me in these types of situations, whether it's work or when I used to play sports or just really anything that kind of feels competitive in my life. I want the pressure. So in that regard, I think I would rather be a 1 seed because the downside to being the 1 seed is you're going to get probably the easiest path to the championship, but you have the highest expectations that you have to win every time, or it feels worse. It feels more embarrassing or more of a letdown. And so you've got that pressure in the back of your mind, maybe like, well, I can't lose. I'm a 1 seed. Like I can't lose to this 16, or I can't lose to this 9, or it's embarrassing. There's these random thoughts that can come with that. 16 seed doesn't have any of that. They're out there playing for broke. They have nothing to lose. The whole world thinks they're going to lose anyway. So they can just go out there and just be free and just play the game. And so that's a pro. The con is that they're clearly not as good of a basketball team. We've never seen a 16 seed win the national championship before. And
Yeah.
that is the biggest reason why I would want to be a number 1 seed, because I always want to be in a position to win.
That's fair. I have a different stance. I'm not going to lie. I definitely see your point, but I disagree about being a number 1 seed. And let me tell you why. I think the number 1 seed, like you said, has certain expectations. You know, you're number 1 seed for a reason. But the number 1 seed, unless you win the national championship, no one remembers that you were
Yeah.
a number 1 seed and no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
If you're a 16 and you beat a number 1 that first round, like that happened to, I think it was Virginia a few years back.
Yeah, it was.
No one's going to forget that because it just literally statistically never, like, I mean, until recently, it's literally never happened in history. So I would rather carve history and go after the 1 seed and take them down and be remembered forever, even if I don't win another game.
Yeah.
That would be like the ultimate, you know what I mean? You're just like, I just took down Goliath, baby. Let's do this.
You'd rather get that win against the number 1 seed and then lose like 90-50 to the number 8 seed in your next game, but still be remembered as that team.
Yes.
Basically, Harvard wasn't Harvard the first one that ever did it, and everyone was just like, "What the hell? Like Harvard?"
No, it wasn't Harvard. It was. Are you talking about like the one recently?
No, like the first team that ever like won as a 16 seed.
I don't know actually. That's a really good trivia question. Like, who is the very first one?
Because I swear, whenever it happened when I was like in high school or college, people were comparing it to Harvard. Like Harvard was the first team that ever did it. And
I'm curious.
I mean, usually these 16 seeds, you're like, what the hell school is that? Like, I've never heard of them. But Harvard is not one I would have ever expected that with. So yeah, fact check me, please.
Okay, so it says top seeds on a 162-2 all-time record. Okay, so there are 2. Let me see which one were the 2. It says UMBC, that's the one I'm remembering, became the first number 16 to upset a number 1 in 2018. So that was the first one. The second, maybe this is what you're thinking of, but for some reason you thought Harvard. In 2023, FDU became the second 16 to knock off number 1 Purdue.
Maybe, man. I swear I remember Harvard, but I must be completely tripping.
No, I mean, I think there's been some really close calls.
Maybe that's what it was. Like maybe they almost won a game and it just kind of stuck with me. That furthers your point, right? Like you don't even have to win to be considered that way.
Yeah, there's been a few close calls dating back to like 91. There's like a whole list of them that I can see here where it almost happened, where it was like, oh man, they like won by 3 or 1, or it was like a really close game. But
interesting.
I don't know. I think it's just an interesting take on things of like, what would you rather be, what position would you rather be? And of course, I think, number 1, you're way more likely to win the national championship. You're way more likely to take care of business. But I just think it's really cool. Like if you had that chance to take down Goliath.
Yeah. I mean, hypothetically, if a team is a 16 seed versus a 1 seed, it could be like the best team in the country versus the like 64th best team in the country. Like that's a huge gap. I would go on a ledge and say that at least 90% of people that watch those games root for the underdog unless you're a fan of the number 1 seed. Like when Duke was losing at halftime to that 16 seed, I can promise you like 90% of people in the world were probably like, oh, hell yeah. Like, can they do it? Can they beat Duke? And then the other people were Duke fans. Like that's the pressure I think that the number 1 seed has, is that unless it's your own fans, people want to see you lose.
Why do you think people like upsets so much then?
I think it's built into our psychology where I think it's twofold. People don't want to see the same person always eating, always winning. People want to see someone else. It builds drama, it builds suspense, it builds hope that you could also win. If somebody that wasn't expected to win, then maybe you can too. So I think that it's that. And then I think sometimes people just like genuinely want to be right about something, even if they are grasping for straws. Like I think people want to be like, oh, I think they have a chance. I think they can do it. And then when they win, they're like, oh my gosh, I told you. So I think it's a twofold thing. I think people get really tired of seeing the same shit all the time. It gives them hope that maybe they could rise up as well. And then some people I think just want the glory of saying that they called it.
Do you think it has any, I heard you say it has to do with psychology. Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that as like an everyday person, let's just say an average person, an average sports fan like you and I, deep down, you're like, you want to like tell the man F you, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you lose. You're always a good team. Like, let's see somebody like beat your ass one time. That's like not that, not as good or not as prevalent.
I think you can relate it to a lot of things in life. Relate it to, let's say, the workplace, for example, like that one person that's always getting like the best job or like the most responsibility or the most prestige. And you're kind of like, well, I can do that too, but they always give it to this person because they're the favorite, like I think it can relate to those types of things where like you're the underdog in that situation. Like maybe that person goes out on like maternity or paternity leave and now it becomes your responsibility. And like, that's your chance to be the underdog and you want to prove that you can do it. And that's kind of, I think, what the psychology is in my mind is it's like when things are always going as expected, then things will always go as expected. And it really, I think in my mind, it removes hope and motivation whenever you want things to change. And I think that's why psychologically we root for underdogs.
Yeah. I mean, I think back in the, I don't know, what is it, 1970s now, maybe 1980s. Just imagine, we weren't alive back then, but I can imagine, you're going to the movie theater. I know you like to go see movies, Scott, and you're all pumped up and you're like, ooh, I want to go see a movie. What should I go see? You put on your leather jacket. You get your popcorn ready. You take your girl with you. Come on, baby, we're going to the movie theater. And guess what? You go and see back then, Scott. You see Rocky. You see Sylvester Stallone, the Italian Stallion, the ultimate underdog guy, who comes out of nowhere and beats ass many times in many movies. So like, I don't know. I just think we're drawn to it. It happens in movies. It happens in sports. It happens all over.
Well, and what you just described is also, we're kind of culturally and media based trained to associate like underdog is good, favorite is bad, because it makes for better stories. And so those stories that come out in the news, whether it's real life stories or they come out in cinema or in fiction books, whatever type of media you're reading, these stories are better if the underdog is the good guy, the protagonist. And so maybe that's a whole nother part of it that kind of like subconsciously has then become a part of our psychology. And we associate like 16 seed, good guys, number 1 seed, bad guys. These are the monstars, but we want the Looney Tunes to win, Yeah.
Like, it's the hero story. Everybody has their hero story, and that can be your hero story in sports.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it boils down to.
So I found a couple of really interesting hot takes relating to March Madness, and I want to read 2 of them to you to see what your thoughts are. The first one is, winning March Madness has more to do with luck than skill.
Ooh, I have mixed emotions about that. I think I could understand where this is coming from the aspect of you have no control of who you play against. You have no control of like what days you play, what times you play, what locations you're playing in. Your entire structure and rhythm of your season is kind of thrown into the wayside and everything's a little bit different. And you have no idea on any given night, like a shot that you make 99 times out of 100, if you miss it one time in one game out of however many, the 4 or 5 games you have to win in March Madness, then you lose. Like you just don't win the tournament because of that one missed shot that happened one time out of 5 games. So I can understand from a standpoint that yes, like luck can be a factor in it, right? However, I think that luck can be minimized in all things in life through preparation and discipline. And I think that is the way to truly be a champion, is to have the preparation and the discipline to put yourself into a position to win on any given day or night. And then luck can't affect you as much, if you want to call it luck or whatever. But certainly I think in anything in life, there's always a small element of luck involved. I don't think anything is ever a guarantee. The hardest working person doesn't always win. And that's just a fact of life. Maybe there's a bad injury. Maybe they have an off night. Maybe they get the flu, like whatever. There's no absolute certainties to anything. So yeah, I think luck can apply a little bit, but I absolutely think that preparation and discipline can go a long way as well.
Okay. That's fair. Second one, most brackets are busted because people overthink it, not because it's random. And let me give you my reaction to this one.
Please do, because I can't wait to hear it.
I do, because here's the thing. I'm guilty of this. I can give you, my example, overthinking the bracket. Why did they get busted? Because you overthink it. People are looking for those underdog stories, right? Like they do want to pick And sometimes it works, and most of the time I'd say it doesn't work. If you look at the statistics, like I think the brackets do a nice job of giving you the stats of here's how many times a 5 seed beats this. You know what I mean? It does. Most of the ones that at least I've seen, they give you that statistic. You can at least have an idea. How common is this from like an actual could this happen type thing? When you overthink it though, and you're like, oh yeah, like this random team is going to make it all the way to the final four. I mean, like how do you win in general, how do you actually win a bracket in terms of like when you enter something or you're part of it? You just have more picks deeper in the bracket, right?
Yep.
Like the more teams you get that go deeper, the more points you get, the more valuable those deeper picks go. And generally speaking, statistically, and I probably even sound like I'm overthinking it, the higher seeds go farther. But people don't want to give the higher seeds the benefit of the doubt. And then so they start doing this Mickey Mouse picking of like, yeah, like, this team's going to go to the final four. And it's like, yeah, that's not a high likelihood.
I think that you're spot on there. I think you're so right there. And I have talked to people about this before, and I try not to think too much about it these days because I have a history of overthinking it as well. But I think that people get into their heads because when you fill out those brackets, you do it in like quadrants. You do like one quarter of it at a time. And people will literally look at a quadrant and be like, oh, I don't have enough upsets in here. And it's like, well, first of all, you're only looking at 25% of the entire March Madness. So if you don't think you have enough there, like maybe they'll happen elsewhere. It doesn't mean they have to happen in this one quadrant. And also, what is enough? 2, 3, 10? Because like how many upsets realistically happen every year? Like 1 or 2 in like each quadrant, probably.
Yeah.
You might have like 4 total for the first round. That'd be like 1 in each quadrant. And then that team's probably not going to upset again. They're probably going to lose their second game, historically speaking.
Yep.
Most of the time, I would love to see a stat on this. For my personal account, off the top of my dome here, it seems to me that there usually, almost every year, is at least 2 number 1 seeds in the final 4, if not more.
Yeah, a lot of the time.
So if you're overthinking this, that you have to have a bunch of upsets, then you're going to miss that. And that's a low-hanging fruit to just choose number 1 seeds.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of with you on this.
You just got to get which ones are the right ones, right? Like, because not everyone makes it, and that's what's key. Like, to those people that picked Florida.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, did you get it right? No, but like statistically, it's not going to be all of them. So you're going to have to pick and choose who you think out of those 4 actually will make it and can go the distance. And that's probably the harder part, in my opinion, is figuring out which of the top teams are going to actually make it to the end versus the upsets. Like, those are the most fun part. Don't get me wrong to pick, but
right.
That's like the Mickey Mouse stuff, it's just like, okay, cool, man. You got like one of the crazy upsets, but like that's only 10 points. That's not 100 points later on.
Yeah. So, fun fact about that, as somebody who predicted most of the upsets in the first round this year, after the first round of the March Madness, my bracket was in the 99th percentile out of all brackets like in the world. Now it is in like the 37th percentile. So yeah, cool. Like I guessed a couple of upsets and I didn't get anything else right after that. I'll probably still rise up again because I've got like some teams that are probably going to make it to the Final Four, maybe the national championship that are still going. But yeah, that first round glory didn't last longer than like 2 days, and now I look like shit. I'm not going to win I'm not going to win our podcast bracket, let alone be high bracketed out of the world.
Yeah. You're just going to have the Mickey Mouse Award.
You know what? If there's a Mickey Mouse Award for the first round hero, I will gladly accept it.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, so something else. So this is not related to March Madness, but I figured that this is a good one because right now we just talked about this a little bit before we started the recording that we're in this weird time in sports of it's like that lull period where golf's just turning up. We're about to have the Masters in a couple weeks, so that'd be fun. First major. Football's gone. We have off season. NFL drafts coming in April. So this February to March is always this awkward time, right? Where it's like really nothing happens in February or nothing super happening. I mean, we had the Olympics this year, but we got to this point now where, okay, what do you have? NBA, NHL, MLB is coming back. March Madness is in full swing. Golf is about to kick off.
Well, but here, if you listen to Kyle on TikTok, we also have MLS and NASCAR.
Okay, yes, there are things happening. I'm talking more mainstream. MLS is very popular. I don't want to poop on it because a lot of people do like MLS and watch a Champions League and all that kind of stuff. That's just not for us. Like I know you and I, that's not our thing.
I can't wake up early enough to watch the Premier League, so
Yeah,
I'm not going to
so
even pretend.
maybe this is just our opinion based on
Yeah.
the stuff that we watch. But interesting question. Why do you think that some sports just don't like grab us anymore? I don't know. Like I'll give you an example. I used to absolutely love watching NBA when I was younger. Like it was my shit. I had like jerseys that I bought. I had, trading cards. Like I was like really, really into NBA. And then now it's like, I don't care anymore. Do you think it's more just based on your life and how your life changes of your interest? Or do you think there's something there with these sports, like generally?
I think, yes, first of all, I think things change in our lives. And not to be the great philosopher tonight, but I do think there's some psychology to this as well. And these sports like baseball, basketball, you could even lump hockey into this as well. I think it is very easy as life changes, priorities also change, and time management changes, and your daily routine changes. There are lots of things change in life regularly for everybody all the time. And so if like you are not a diehard fan of MLB,
Yeah.
if that is not your like number one priority to be the diehard fan of MLB, then there isn't really a priority to watch any given game because there's 161 or two of them. I mean, they play for 9 months out of the year, or 8 months or something. So it's like, well, yeah, I would love to watch the St. Louis Cardinals play baseball tonight, but I would also like to go outside and go for a walk with my son and my dog. And guess what? They're going to play again tomorrow, and then 2 nights from now, and then 3 nights from now, and
Mm-hmm.
another 100 times before the playoffs come. So I'll just watch them later. And I honestly think that's what it is. I think the level of like how much the outcome of a specific event actually matters to the long-term outcome of a team, in my opinion, will drive how much I prioritize participating and watching that. So, and that I think the perfect example to that is I love watching NBA playoff games. I love watching playoff basketball, but I don't watch like any regular season playoffs. And I think this started back in the days when you knew it was going to be like the Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors were going to be in the finals, and it happened like 5 years in a row or 4 years in a row or whatever. And it was like, why am I going to watch all these basketball games when in the end of the season it's going to be these same two teams and everyone knows that? I might as well just wait, and I'll watch a lot of it when that happens, when it actually matters. I don't know. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this because I genuinely believe that like if the NBA only had 10 games in a season, people would watch every game.
Yeah, for sure. I think it definitely your personal life, like you talked about, has a big part of it. So let's not ignore that. Like everybody's life changes. You get different interests, right? Like when you're a kid versus an adult and all that. Like, you know what I mean? I never watched golf when I was a kid. And I'm sure, golf wasn't even on your radar other than maybe the video games. But I will say though, like certain sports have changed a bit over time. Like you could name any sport, whether it's NBA or NFL or like things have changed about them, right? Like there's different rules in the NFL, the kickoff and just and maybe not as
unprotected
physical
receivers. Yeah, definitely a less physical game.
Not as much like
right?
just like crazy hits and stuff like that we used to see.
Like the Ray Lewis montages from back in the day.
Yeah, for sure. Basketball, different game, man. Like I was just talking to my wife the other day about this because she was asking me. She was like, I don't even really know like what the positions are in basketball. I've never, she's just not familiar with it. And so I was explaining it to her, and I was like, well, back in my day, use an old man term. Back in my day, here's what they meant. Like the center was usually a big dude that's stronger and not as good at shooting and rebound defense. Now it's like you have centers and they're like shooting threes and they're like 7'6" and you know what I mean? Like,
and they're super skitty and like could get run over by like me.
Yeah, like the game in general, the how the players are and what they do and their tendencies. Like, yes, the game is still the game. You're still playing the same game, but I think also like stuff has definitely changed in some of these games, and I don't know, like the personalities have changed, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think about what's socially popular versus not. Social media changed a lot of it. I think there's guys all over social media now. You get to see more of their personalities for better or for worse and what they stand for or don't. And it's definitely just like evolved. And that's why I really think that some things just don't grab us like they used to.
I think you're onto something here. And some of the things that really stand out to me is analytics, gambling, sports gambling. All these things have gotten like way out of control. and they're like training our brains almost like algorithms to like, these are the things that matter,
Right.
instead of letting us just enjoy the sport.
Yep.
And I think so that's one thing. I think we're almost being prescribed what we should believe matters and what we should care about, instead of allowing that kind of like curiosity, that wonder, and just like that enjoyment, like that passive taking in of just enjoying watching the sport. And the other thing too is I think money has changed things.
Mm,
So much is about securing the bag and not necessarily like winning for your team, winning for your city.
yeah,
Now, granted, that still exists. Like these are still like some of the most competitive people in the world playing. They're professional athletes, but
for sure.
it does seem like money talks sometimes more than like pride and teamwork and work ethic sometimes. And with that, the game has changed. They want to protect these athletes. They want to make them celebrities. So the rules have changed, to your point. We've got like, you can't really hit anybody in football very hard anymore without it just being a penalty, even if it's a clean hit. We've made the games more offensive to have a lot more scores. So each
Mhm.
score doesn't feel as meaningful because the scores are what drive the people to watch the games. And you got NFL red zone. So you want people in scoring all the time. There's all these things that are created for like big moments that have kind of distilled all of the big moments now because there's so many of them. And in basketball, we're protecting these athletes by allowing them to fall on the ground and try and trick the ref as good as they can so that they can get their nice little 2 points from the free throw line. And that is not a dig at any one athlete. We talked about this recently, but that's the game of basketball now, and
Yep.
all of the best players do it.
It's changed.
As
Yeah.
wrong as it feels. So yeah, it feels like it feels like the sports have become a product almost, and that they're trying to protect their investment in these big celebrity athletes so that they can play all the time, and it distills down kind of the excitement of the game, in my opinion, because they're protecting them and they've changed the rules. And some of that is for really good purposes, like maybe we don't want a shit ton of concussions and CTE coming out of the NFL. But I think some of it is not so good either, like load
Right.
management in the NBA and flopping all the time. So, yeah, I think that a lot of it comes down to money, gambling, media, celebrity status, and all of those things.
Yeah. No, it's definitely like I said, I think it's a lot of things have definitely changed in general, and I think that's part of what doesn't grab you anymore. Or maybe, it does grab you. Maybe there's the opposite perspective. And I would like to hear anyone's take on that if you do have that. Like maybe people watch certain things that they wouldn't because they like to bet on it or they play in
Yeah.
fantasy, you know what I mean? Or like their friends like, hey, my friends got me into like X or
Yeah.
whatever. There's probably the opposite too, but I don't know. I was just kind of thinking about it more in like a general perspective. And I was kind of curious what your thoughts were. But do you want to do some PGA picks for the week and then we can head out?
Yeah, man. After last week, I don't know if I do, but let's do it anyway. Dude, okay. I just have to say, last week pissed me off so bad. I only had 3 of my 6 guys make the cut. I had like just everyone and their mother was going like +6 on a Thursday. And I had someone that went like -3 on Thursday and then went like +7 on Tuesday or on Friday. And I'm like, dude, what is going on? Oh
Yeah,
man.
man.
And that was after the week before that I was second place in our league of 54 people. And then I had a combined +17 out of my 6 golfers on one day on Sunday. So yeah, I don't know if I should be making picks, but I'm damn sure going to. We're gonna be making picks.
Hey, I put my picks out there not necessarily based on what I pick in our DraftKings league. So I just try to let loose. Like it's not like hey, this is what I picked in my draft. It's more
Yeah,
just like, hey, here's some general thoughts. So maybe I should follow more of what I say on here because I don't usually always pick those people and it doesn't go well.
yeah.
So
Well,
So we got the PGA Texas Houston Open. Just so if anyone's not familiar with this, and Scott, you may not be as familiar with this. This is actually, I was listening to a podcast when I took a shower before we hopped on. This is actually a pretty good preparation course for the Masters. So
okay.
there are similarities and certain things to this course that help to prepare people and will play in a somewhat similar fashion to Augusta. So it's not the same course by any means, but what is surprising to me is actually that there's not more high profile or highly ranked players playing this week, given that information. A lot of
Yeah, I
them
was
usually will
looking.
play the week before, which is, I think it's like the Valero next week. And I don't know, that course kind of is not the greatest. So that's why I'm like, it's weird. But Scotty's out, had a kid, I guess, had his second kid.
Okay.
So
Well, I can relate to that soon.
yeah, so he's not on the board, so that makes it a little, we can't ignore him because he's out. But who do you got for a top 10 finish? this week.
I'm looking through the field now, and I didn't really prep for this, but I'm going to say a name that I've said a few times, and I'm going to believe in him this time. And he's let me down a couple times, but I still think he's a good, underrated golfer, and that is going to be Tor Bjornsson.
Okay. Yeah, the one time I picked him, he got shit on. So, I mean, he's a good golfer, but I don't trust him. Can't trust the guy.
It seems to me like he's got a hard time finishing like a 4 full days of golf from what I've watched with him. And on his best weekends, he might fall apart in like the last 3 holes,
Yeah. Yep.
But for top 10, I think he can get top 10 this week.
It's fair. I'm going to go with Sam Burns. He's kind of a hot and cold player recently, but I think given the field and who's in here, I think he's due for a top 10 finish. Who do you got for make the cut?
Let me pull this up because I don't want to take something that's too easy here.
Yeah, you're good. I can give you mine while you're doing that.
Yeah, go ahead and do yours, and I'll try and pull up the.
I'm gonna reach here. So when I say reach, I don't want to give somebody that I think is super obvious. And I'm looking at just some of the odds. So I'm gonna pick someone closer to the money line in terms of the DraftKings odds. But give me, let's see here. I'm gonna do a random guy that not many people are probably familiar with. Give me Alejandro Tosti at plus 102.
Okay. Damn.
Very, very random. And if you look at his stats, he's sucked recently, but look at his course history. He absolutely dominates at this course.
Interesting. Yeah.
Randomly.
Not one I would have chosen, that's for sure. I am going to go, and this is not super unlikely. He's minus 170, but I'm going to go with Aldrich Potgieter. I don't know if I said that right, but I feel like that dude, when he plays good, he's like at the top of the standings. And when he plays bad, he doesn't make the cut. So it's a 50-50 in that sense. But I think if he makes it through the weekend, he could be a top 10, top 15 golfer even. So go with that.
Fresh off the weight loss, my boy. Usually we do end of first round leader. Let's do end of second round leader. Because I think that one's even more interesting. Like who will be at the top on day 2 going into the cut.
Ooh. Give me, I want to say Jake Knapp, but I have lost a lot of confidence in him after the week that he withdrew, like on the first, like right before it started. I'm gonna go on a ledge here. Maybe give me Ben Griffin to be the leader of round 2.
Okay, he has good course history. I'm gonna say a random person as well that maybe not as common. Give me Harris English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bro, I swear that guy I feel like he's the most random golfer in the PGA Tour. Like one week I'm like, oh, this guy's looking pretty good. And then the next week I'm like, oh, he sucks. And it's so weird though. Like he's better more than he's bad. But it's just, he's like a sneaky kind of competitive guy. Yep. At least from my limited golf watching.
Last one, we got outright winner.
I'm going to pivot from what I normally do. What I normally would say here is Chris Gotterup. And I still feel like he could win this. But I don't want to say the same name every single week that we do the podcast. So with that being said, give me Adam Scott.
Okay. I actually like that. That's a solid pick.
Thank you.
I like that one. I'm going to go a little unconventional here with my pick just because nobody really knows who the hell's going to win. And I can't claim to. Give me Davis Thompson at plus 5,500 on DraftKings.
Damn. Okay.
He's kind of a random one, but I don't know.
It feels like it's going to be one of those random weekends, though. We've had a few of those this season already. Yeah. Like last week, I remember, other than Fitzpatrick and maybe like one other guy, I was looking at the top 10 list and I was like, I make a joke because I watch golf at the house like every weekend now. And I told Raven, I was like, hey, look at the TV, recognize those names? And it was just like a bunch of people that you never see in the top 10.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't know who any of these guys are. I'm like, yeah, I mean, other than Matt Fitzpatrick, I don't really know like these guys either. So it does feel like it could be that kind of a weekend again this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, last week, a lot of the top guys missed the cut or like the higher end guys. And I mean, talk about a slaughtering in DraftKings, man, for fantasy, just, I think I had 3 make the cut and 3 miss. And I was like,
same.
Just so, just so hard to even watch when you're like only watching half a team play.
I just want to say, man, I picked Thigala. You know, I was roasting that man at the beginning of the season. I know he's had a couple of decent outings, but he's had some really bad ones too. And I picked him last week and it was a horrible outing.
Yeah, so did I. Look at us. And he just won the TGL championship. Good luck.
Dude, he made a monster putt tonight on TGL. Yeah. They were up 4-2 and I forget who it was before him hit into a bunker on like on the drive of a par 5 hole. And then Tiger went up to drive and threw the hammer down before driving. He was just like, "We're taking it. We're doing it." So he threw the hammer down before he even drove off. And then Thigala hit like some crazy putt to actually win the hole. So they won, even though the other team threw the hammer. So he's using all of his luck in the TGL, and he's not performing on our, Fridays in this case.
Well, maybe he sticks to indoor. I don't know. But anyways, looking forward to seeing you this coming week and reconnecting and having some fun in person.
Yes, sir. I can't wait. We're going to run the streets. No, we're not, but we're going to have some fun in LA, and we will have some beverages. We will talk and watch some sports. I know we're going to have some good March Madness this weekend, and who knows, maybe a Lakers game on Friday. They are at home, but we'll see how the cookie crumbles.
That'd be dope. But till then,
go see my boy LeBron. Yeah, cheers, brother. Have a good night.
Cheers. Hell yeah.